My background is actually the restaurant business. That's what I went to school for, and that's how I became affiliated with wine. I was fortunate to work for a very, very large company that was based out of Japan, and they had a lot of holdings of restaurants in the United States. And I got in with them early, and lo and behold, nobody in it wasn't a huge corporation, but a pretty good sized corporation, nobody knew anything about wine. And I liked wine, and I had consumed wine, but I'm an avid reader. So then I started reading about wine, and lo and behold, I became the wine guy. And so I sort of took over, and it was a very eclectic restaurant group. So I would have jug wine, and I would have high-end wine in the different restaurants. And so I tasted probably more wines maybe than you guys, because I had salespeople bring them to me all the time. And I just became fascinated with it. And then the next step was my uncle, Ed, Ellen's husband, said, let's try to make some. And it was a lark. I won't say it was a lark, because we'd made homemade wine. But let's try to make some commercially. So we did. And that's kind of how we got into the business. All the winemaking throughout all the Pinot Noirs, I can tell you, is going to be 100% French oak. I merely destem the berries. I don't do any crushing. All the Pinot, with slight exceptions, all the Pinot is made in open-top fermenters. I cold soak them for an extended period, get the fermentation going. I believe in fast, hot fermentations as opposed to longer, slower, cool fermentations, which some people do. Particulates settle out, then it goes to barrel. And from the point of barrel till bottling is usually about 14 months. And the wine is only moved with, we call it a bulldog, with essentially compressed air as nitrogen. We push it so we don't have a pump that's churning up things. That allows all the particulate to settle on the bottom of the barrel, and we just cleanly rack it off the top. The majority of the wines that I make are, they're always unfined. I don't think I've ever fined a commercial wine that I've made, but the majority of them are also unfiltered. But you'll see that I get very, very good clarity by cellar techniques. I've always felt that the key to the style of Pinot Noir that I'm going to make, and it's been often compared to more of a French style, is that I don't let the fruit get so ripe, because not only, because there's other ways that you can get the alcohol down, you can add water, you can do different things. But the problem is the flavors that develop when you get to that really riper point, riper being 25 bricks, I mean, we're picking really around 24.2. When you start to get to 25 and a half bricks, even if you can address the alcohol on it, there are several things that have happened. Number one, you've completely changed the flavor profile. And you can't dilute it out, you can't change it. And a lot of people like that. They're really big, black, dark fruited wines. I think that they're very appropriate, but not for Pinot Noir. The other thing is, then you have to add acid. And I'm not against adding acid. There's nothing really wrong with adding acid if you need to, but you don't need to if you just pick it in a more appropriate acid level. People say, I never pick on sugar. Well, I do. I pick on sugar, but it's just part of the equation. I've got a whole little matrix that I look at when we're going to pick. Part of it is flavor, just tasting the grapes. But, the flavor of a grape is not what translates into that bottle. Believe me, it's not. And then I also look for me, since I pick a little earlier than many people, I look for really seed development. That seed, when I chew it, it can't have any green components at all. And I want the skins to have really toughened up. And we call the stems lignify, where they brown off. And, I just got this little matrix, and I plug in every single time we taste those grapes, and I take a sample, and I see when it hits the point where both the sugar, the flavor, and the seed development are into my ballpark, then we start planning on picking.